Chairman of the Ethiraj College Trust, my good friend Thiru Muralidharan, the Financial Trustee Dr. M. Shekhar, former Chairman Dr. A. M. Swaminathan, former Chairperson, my good friend who has done yeoman service for the government of Tamil Nadu at my request, Tirumadi Chandra Devi Anikachalam, the Principal Dr. Uma Gauri. Most of all, though he is much more senior and distinguished than me, I'm happy to say my very good friend, Dr. Gopal Krishna Gandhi, the former Governor of West Bengal. The many people I see that I know in the audience, my relatives, my friends, former IAS officers of the government of Tamil Nadu, alumni that I know, faculty, students, the press. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me and listening to me on this very momentous occasion of the 75th or the valedictory function of the 75th anniversary and the opening of this wonderful new block. The Model Code of Conduct has just gone into effect a few days ago, so I have to be very careful about what I say in case it's construed in the wrong way. But I'll just briefly say two things, societally and individually. Societally, it is very clear by now that what distinguishes a developed, relatively compassionate, relatively progressive society is the extent to which there is inclusion and equality for all, starting with women and then minorities of all types, religious communities, so forth. And if we have one great pride in our state, in our recent history of the last 100 plus years, it is that we stand head and shoulders above almost any other state of our scale, and even as the south of India, in how integrated girls and women are into the mainstream of education, of economics, of entrepreneurship, and how valuable that is to us in both economic outcomes and human development. At an individual level, some people get to be very successful in their lifetime. Some even get to leave behind their names in stone carvings like that if we happen to be in office. Some get to build institutions. Some get to build institutions that generate the human capital that goes out and changes the world. In that sense, I would say there can be no greater tribute to the founder, Ethiraj Mudaliar, than what has become the number one college for women in Chennai. Not just in scale, but also in quality and impact. I was also taken with this building today when I heard about 50,000 square feet, and when the chairman was telling me, that we had this empty space and now we built, and I said, this is the curse of our time, right? We need buildings so much for the population that grows that we destroy nature. And then I was so pleasantly surprised that it's designed in such a way that it leaves such a small footprint, and it's open to the air and sunlight on all sides, and it's designed in a way that it almost fits into the environment rather than standing out like a sore block. So I congratulate the architects, the board, the design, the construction. I think it's been a wonderful outcome. I will only say one last thing. As good as broad education and inclusion and access to all is, and as vital as it is, we do need institutions that we consider elite. Not elite in the sense of who gets to go, but elite in the sense of the level of intellectual activity or creativity or professionalism of research, of technology. And what is even more important than having elite institutions, and we are fortunate in Tamil Nadu to have many, the IIT, the NIT, Anna University, so many colleges, is that elite should not be defined based on exclusive. And I had a very wonderful revelation from a friend of mine who's now the director of the National Science Foundation, who is also a Chennai boy, but the director of the National Science Foundation in the US. Many of you may have heard of it. It is the premier science and research promotion agency of the government of the United States with a budget of something like $1 billion a year. Has been at the forefront of many pioneering technologies. And in fact, during my time in the US, the 10 years or so I was in US academia, if a professor got one of those young researcher awards from the NSF, that means their career was made. That's how elite an institution it is. But the director, I happened to meet a couple of times and we became friends. And one of the things that struck me about his approach and why we've become such good friends is that he said, after he took on his job, he said that elite cannot be defined by the ratio of exclusion. So you cannot say I'm elite because every 100 people apply, only one gets here. That is the definition. It cannot be the definition of elite. The demand and supply is not the basis. It's the quality of the work. It's the level of intellectual access. And it should also be that exclusivity is broken down by as many tools possible. Most US universities have started to do that. In some of the best universities in the US, including my old university, MIT, they do what's called needs-blind admission. So they give you admission based on your background, your academic credentials, without checking whether you have the ability to pay. And after you get in, they decide whether you have the ability to pay by yourself, fully, partially, and the big endowments these universities sit on will pay the rest of their fees. So in that sense, I want to congratulate the board for this 7.5 crore fund, which is going to provide scholarships. It is just another way of ensuring that elite institutions don't have to be exclusive and people without the economic means can actually get access to high quality or elite quality education. So congratulations on that again. Very close to my heart and the notions of social justice and equity. Before I get into any trouble with any code violations, I will conclude my speech. Thank you again for allowing me to share the stage with so many luminaries. I think this is the third or fourth or fifth time I've been here in the last 10 years. I was just thinking that the first time I came here was in 2013 for some seminar. And then I was reminded, just so you all don't think that old people like us were always old people, I was reminded that the first time I came here was actually in 1983 on a motorcycle to see a friend who lived in the hostel across the street, the Rani Mayamai hostel. And in those days, they wouldn't let my motorcycle into either this gate or that gate. So the world's changed quite a bit. Anyway, thank you very much for having me at this wonderful event. I wish all of you the best.